Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So today we are going to go through the answers for topic 8 on lists. The first question, it says a list is a popular data structure to store data in sequential order. A, give two differences between array list and linked list. So you can refer to your lecture notes, your slides for this one. Let's go straight to the second question. It says, show the contents of a list after the following operations are performed. Assume the list is initially empty. So let's go through the code one by one. So the first one, it says array list integer a list equal to new array list integer. Right. So to write the array list, you would write array list and then the element type equal to new array list and then the element type. The next line we have a list.add 1 and then a list.add 2 and a list.add 3. So what happens here, you are using the method called add, and if you refer to the API, when you write add and then you have some value, that will append the specified element to the end of the list. Currently we have an empty list, so it will add the value 1 and then the value 2 and also the value 3. So after these 3 lines, in your A list you would have 1, 2 and 3. Going to the next line, so we have a list.remove2. So if we refer to the API, when we use the method called remove, it will take in the index number of it. So when we write a list.remove2, it will remove whatever value at index number 2. So what we have before, the value 1 is at index 0, the value 2 is at index 1, and the value 3 is at index 2. So when it comes to the a list.remove2, it will remove the value 3. So right now in our a list, we only have the value 1, 2. On the next line, we have a list.add 1, 3. So if we look at the API, this method called add, the first one is the index, the second one is the element. So in this line, we are saying that at index 1, we want to add the value 3. So currently in our A list, we have 1 and 2. So now we want to add 3 at index number 1. So our A list will become 1, 3 and 2. In the next line, we write a list.add 4. So that will add the value 4 at the end of the list. So at this line, we will have the value of our A list to become 1, 3, 2, and 4. At the last line, we have A list.set 3, 5. So now we are calling the set method. If we refer to the API, set, the first one is the index, the second one is the element. And then it says that in the description, when we are using set, it replaces the element at the specified position in this list with the specified element. So this means that at index 3, whatever that value is at that index, we want to remove it and replace it with the value 5. So our current A list would have the value 1, 3, 2, and 4, and 4 is at index number 3. So when we run the set method over here, it will replace the value 4. So in the end, our A list would have the value 1, 3, 2, and 5. So that is the final output in this question. Question number 2. Suppose that you have to store the daily temperature in Celsius for various locations in Kedah. You have decided to use an array list to store these temperatures. So the first question, declare and create the array list and name it as temp list. So you would write it as array list, the element type is double, and then the name of it should be temp list equal new double array list. So how do you know that you should use double, not integer? So if you refer to the second question, it says that the temperature that are above 35.0. So that is the indicator to say that your array list, the element type should be double. Question B. Suppose you have added some temperatures in temp list. Write the Java statements to display temperatures that are above 35.0 Celsius only. So there are two ways of doing it. So the first one, you can use the enhanced for loop, or the second one, you can use the normal for loop. If you want to use the enhanced for loop, you would write something like the first one that I wrote over here, for double T temp list. So in the enhanced for loop, the first one would be the object element. Over here, my object element is double T, and then the list is my array list, which I name it as temp list. So my object element, which is the double T, that would refer to the single item from the array list. And then the list, which is the temp list, that is the variable that we need to loop through. So this line for double T temp list, that means that the variable T will go through everything inside your temp list. And each of the temp list, so at index 0, that value will be kept in the variable T, and then when it goes to the next one, which is the temp list at index 1, then whatever that value is, it will be kept temporarily in the variable T, and then it will loop through until it has gone through everything inside your array list. Because the question says that to display only temperatures that are above 35.0 Celsius, so I will write my if statement. So if T is larger than 35, then only it will display it using the system.out.println. Similarly, you can use the normal for loop. So what I wrote over here, for int I equal to 0, I less than templist.size to get the size of the temp list, and then I plus plus. And then we have if templist.get I is larger than 35, whatever that value is at index I, then we will do our system.out.println and then print out the value of it. In the normal for loop, we have to use the get method to get the specific value of the element. In the enhanced for loop, we can use the object element, which is T, straight away. If you want to know more about what are the methods that ArrayList has, you can refer to the Java API. So let's go to the next question. A-list is a popular data structure to store data in sequential order. Show the contents of A-list after the following operations are performed. Assume the list is initially empty. This is pretty similar to the previous question. So we have ArrayList integer A-list equal new ArrayList integer. Right? So the element type over here is integer. And then we have A-list.add 10, A-list.add 20, A-list.add 30, and A-list.add 40. So that means that we are adding the value. So in our A-list, we would have 10, 20, 30, 40. In the next line, we have A-list.add 0, 100. So we are adding the value 100 at index 0. So our A-list from before, which was 10, 20, 30, 40, now we add 100 at index 0. So it becomes 100, 10, 20, 30, 40. So the last line we have A-list.remove 4. So that means that we want to remove whatever value at index 4. So our A-list currently, we have the value 100, 10, 20, 30, 40. So at index 0, we have the value 100, index 1, the value 10, index 2, value 20, index 3, value 30, and index 4, value 40. So when we get to A-list.remove 4, that means that we want to remove the value 40. So when we run the last line, A-list.remove 4, we are going to remove the value 40, which is at index 4. So our A-list will become 100, 10, 20, and 30. So question 4, study the following program. What will be the output after executing the program? Let's go through the code. So we have ArrayList string authors equal new ArrayList string. So over here, our element type is string. And then we have authors.add Thomas, authors.add Malik, authors.add Goodrich, authors.add Daniel. So that means that in our list, which is called authors, we would have Thomas, Malik, Goodrich, and Daniel. The next line we have system.out.println how many authors, and then it will print out authors.size. So in that line, the output would be how many authors? 4. It shows 4 because the size is 4. However, the index is from value 0 up until 3. There's no value for index 4. The next line we have another system.out.println. It will display who is the first author in our list. And then we are using the get method at index 0 to get the name of the author. So the output would be who is the first author in our list? Thomas. Then we have the iterator. We have iterator list equal authors.iterator. So that means that it will iterate over the collection, and our collection is the authors. We have the while loop, so it will go through the collection as long as we have the next value. And then inside the while loop, we have system.out.println list.next. So it's going to go through index 0, index 1, index 2, and so on until it has gone through the collection. So it will display Thomas, Malik, Goodrich, Daniel. The next line, we have authors.remove authors size minus 1. We know that our authors.size is 4 minus 1, which is 3. And when we use the remove method, whatever value inside of it, that refers to the index number. So in this line, it actually means authors.remove at index number 3. In our authors array list, we have Thomas, Malik, Goodrich, Daniel. So Thomas at index 0, Malik at index 1, Goodrich at index 2, and Daniel at index 3. So when we want to remove at index 3, that means that we are removing Daniel. So our authors, our list, would only contain Thomas, Malik, and Goodrich. In the next line, we have system.out.println who is the last author in our list, and it prints out the last index value. So in authors.getLast, so last is equal to authors size minus 1. So author size currently is 3 because we have removed Daniel. But if we try to access at index 3, it will give us an error because we only have index 0 up until 2. In our latest authors list, we have Thomas at index 0, Malik at index 1, and Goodrich at index 2. So authors.getLast, last has the value 2, so it will print out who is the last author in our list, and it will print out Goodrich, which is at index 2. The last line we have system.out.println how many authors body, and it will print out the size of it. So it will print out the size is 3. The final output would be how many authors for who is the first author in our list, Thomas, Thomas, Malik, Goodrich, Daniel, who is the last author in our list, Goodrich, how many authors body, 3. You need to go through line by line as how I did to get the final output of it. Last question, it says analyze below code and answer all questions below by referring to S1 until S7. So question A, write the output when the code in S1 is executed. Let's go through the code. So we have linked list equal new linked list. Then we add the elements to the linked list. We have list.add F, list.add B, list.add D, list.add E, and list.add C. So our list would have the value F, B, D, E, C. The next line we have list.addLast Z, list.addFirst A. So the method name means exactly as what it is being written. So you would add the letter Z at the end of the list and the letter A at the front or at the first of the list. So our list would have the value AFBDECZ. Next line we have list.add1 A2. So we are adding at index 1 the value A2. So our list will become A2 FBDECZ. And then we get to our system.out.println. So it will print out original content of list A2 FBDECZ. So that is the answer for question A. Question B. Write the correct Java statements of S2 and S3 if S4 is executed and produce the output as below. Contents of list after deletion A2, D, E, C, Z. So there are two ways of doing it. In both ways, we are going to use the remove method. If you refer to the API, you can use the remove method that refers to the index number, or you can use the remove method that refers to the element. So the first way that I show over here is if you write list.remove F and list.remove B, that refers to the element straight away. So it will remove the letter F and B in your list. The second way is when you write the index number of the letter that you want to remove. For example, over here, if you write list.remove2, that means that you are removing whatever value at index 2. So in our list, we have A, A2, F, B, D, E, C, Z. So F is at index 2. When you run that code, F will be removed. And then your list will be updated to have the value A, A2, B, D, E, C, Z. So currently you have only removed the value F, and then you want to remove the value B. So you have to look at the updated list. So your updated list is A, A2, B, D, E, C, Z. So you would write list.remove2 to remove the letter B. So in your system.out.println, when you print out contents of list after deletion, you would have A, A2, D, E, C, Z. If you use the index number, you have to be really careful about it, because once you use the remove and then the index number, the list will be updated. Say that if you write list.remove2 and then the next line you write list.remove3, so that will remove the wrong value, because when you write list.remove2, that is correct, you are removing the value F. When you write the next line list.remove3, that does not remove B, but instead it will remove D. That means that if you have remove method and then in the next line another remove method, that means that the second remove method will refer to the updated list that you have. Try and run the code to make more sense of what I'm explaining. So in your code, try to write the remove method and then in the next line, write another remove method. And see what would happen if you write list.remove2, and then the next line list.remove3, and compare it if you write list.remove2 and also list.remove2. Question C. Write the correct Java statements of S5 and S6 if S7 is executed and produce the output as below. List after deleting first and last A2, D, E, C. So there are three ways of doing it. So you can use remove first and remove last method as what I showed over here. I wrote it as list.remove first, so it will remove the first element. List.remove last, it will remove the last element. So it doesn't matter whatever value or at what index those are. Second way of doing it, so I wrote over here option 2. If you want to use the index number, so you know that the first one would be at index 0, so you can write list remove at index 0. So your list will become A2, D, E, C, Z. When you want to remove the last element, then you have to refer to the updated list. So from your A to D, E, C, Z, your last element is Z, and Z is at index 4. So you would write list.remove 4. So the last output you would get is A to D, E, C. The third option to do this question, so you can use the remove method, and instead of specifying which index number, you can refer to the element straight away. So you know that the first element would be the letter A, and then the last element would be the letter Z. So you can write list.remove A and list.remove Z. If you want to use option 2 or option 3, you have to know what elements and what values are being contained in your list. If you use the first option, which is using the remove first and remove last method, it doesn't matter. In any of the questions, you can try and run the code to see if you get the output as expected. Also, if you are not sure about the methods, then you can refer to the Java API to know more about it. So we have covered the answers for all the questions in topic list.